There we go. So we've got some actual new speakers, all of which is from Harbinger. And I have to thank everybody for asking, because it seems people go out there and they go shopping. That's what's happening. People are going out shopping. They're going down to Guitar Center, and there's little whispers, little chit chat. Sometimes people are being shown this little piece of paper right here.
There we go.
And that little piece of paper is some basically actual new speakers.
When I used to be a salesman,
Harbinger,
I'd get sheets like that. I'd have like
thank
everybody for
asking,
like that, things we
because
can and
people go
can't
out there
talk
and they go
about,
shopping.
that sort of thing.
That's what's happening. And people are going out shopping.
We'd have this
they're going
little
down to Guitar Center,
whisper and talk
and
conversation with
whispers,
customers that we
chit-chat.
knew.
Sometimes
either we're looking for
people are
something
being
more than what
shown
we
this
had.
little piece of paper right here.
Oh, well, this is going to
And
be
that
out
little
in
piece
3
of
weeks.
paper is
Or we have samples of it,
basically
that sort of
new
thing.
speakers.
That's what's
going
going
on
on
right
right
here.
here.
So we're going to talk about these speakers today. And I did get a chance to,
things we
because
go
people
over
go
the
out there and they go
instructions
shopping.
of them all and
That's
compare
what's
them.
happening.
And I
people
did
are going
get
out
confident.
shopping.
Have this.
They're
We
going
are
to
getting
Guitar
some
Center.
whisper
We're
and
gonna
have
have
some
conversation
conversation
with
with
customers
customers
that
that
we
we
can
can
do
do
proper
reviews on. So that's a big, big plus.
This little piece of
So
paper
what I'm going to do first, though,
and
and
foremost,
foremost, I have to make sure that I'm seeing everybody,
that sort of thing,
so I can actually see how the chat box is
So we're
doing.
going to talk about
See,
these speakers today. And I did get a chance to
audio.
because we
So
go
no
over the
audio
instructions of them all.
Okay,
and
still no
and
audio.
I did
Let me
get
check.
confident. We are getting some whisper
You're
and
hearing
have
me,
some
let me
conversation
know,
with
and I'm
customers
going
that
to
we can do
you know,
proper
put that
reviews on.
computer
So
way
that's
too
a
big,
big
big
show.
plus
This
there.
little piece of
So
paper
what I'm
right
going to do
there.
first, though,
And
I
these
have
speakers,
to make sure that I'm seeing everybody,
that sort of thing,
so I can actually see how the chat box is
So we're
doing.
going to talk about
And there
these
we
speakers
are.
today.
And yeah,
audio.
so no audio.
Let's see.
I can actually check.
Okay.
Okay, still no audio. Let me check.
We are getting some whisper
You're
and
hearing
have
me,
some
let me know,
conversation with customers that we can do
you know,
proper
put that
reviews on.
computer
So
way
that's
too
a
big,
big
big
show.
plus there. So
So
what I'm going to do first, though,
Right,
is
so
I'm
definitely audio there because I'm hearing myself like 3 times over.
So is the audio good or not good?
So we're going to talk
And
about
there
these
we
speakers
are.
today.
And yeah, so no audio.
Let's see.
Right, so let's see if we got an audio problem or not. Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe we're repeating. Is that it? We're getting that. I think I just fixed it there. Sorry about that. So to everybody who's watching, yes, there was a repeat. There was an echo in my voice. I think it's going to fade away here. There we go. Okay. All right. Oh my gosh, we have silence. I'll get it right eventually. There we go. Okay. So it only took us, 6 minutes to figure that out? There you go. So here, let's start again. Now that a good thing is that when this is all over, only us will know this ever happened, because the magic of YouTube will fade it away. So there we are. Okay, just to let you know how much of a delay there is, that's how much. So from me not talking to me talking, that's how much of a delay. So I had to take the headphones off. So yeah, so Harbinger, new speakers. Ta-da! And again, I'd like to thank my viewers and the people who subscribe and write comments and let me know when they see stuff. Because, of course, for those of you in the know, you know I'm in Canada. And I don't get to go down to Guitar Center that often. If I had a choice, because when I had my store, I had to model it and come out. I've been doing this for like 30 plus years. And, you don't just invent the wheel. You look at how other people run their businesses and how their concepts are and where you think you want to fit in. In Canada, there is nothing like Guitar Center. Now, I didn't sell guitars, but the concept of having an actual store, retail place where you can go and start off fresh, like, hey, I don't know how to play an instrument, or hey, I want to learn and I want to buy into and I want help. That's what Guitar Center is all about. Eventually, everybody outgrows Guitar Center, I guess, at some point in time, because you just become more educated than everybody else that's there. But the nice part is that it's a great place to start, learn, and be able to buy things with a lot of trust, which is very important. So that's how I thought I wanted to have my business, in which I had for many, many years. It worked for me. It certainly works for them. And them being as big as they are, they get to do things like own other companies and put this puzzle together, which is amazing. Now, one of the things they do is have Harbinger now as a brand, but they don't do it the same way a Canadian company here does it. There's a retail, and I'm not poo-pooing on them or anything like that. There's a company here called Long McQuaid. They own Yorkville, so you might have heard of Yorkville. But they
they put an awful lot of emphasis on just that one brand. So it's a good brand, but they just, like, that's all they do. If you go to Guitar Center, you still find all the other brands. And you still get to compare, and you still get to get opinions, and everybody's open-minded to what they have. And Harbinger has become a really good brand to fit into the line of products that you can go out there and buy. And it keeps getting better and better and better, which is really what we've been seeing from a lot of companies out there. We see the same thing happening with Alto, and Electro Voice is becoming much more predominant in that mid-range category. Mackie is, but definitely what I've seen in the last, let's say, 4 years, definitely Harbinger and Alto have put in the most effort in coming out with products that are successful, that are truly better than what they were before, and are even better than some of the other big retail brands out there. And I mean that. And it's a good position, I think, that Harbinger's in right now, coming out with a new product. Introducing let me get it right, it's the V3400 series. Now, the 3400 series is basically helping them come up with a new product, a new rebirth, let's say, of the 2300, which is what they had before. So that's what we've been having, 2300, and this is going to be for the 2312 and the 2315, plus the subwoofer, which used to be called the 2318, and the new model is just going to be called, and I have this on for me because I don't have them all memorized, the VS18 sub, the new V3412, and the new V3415. Power-wise, no difference. Feature-wise, the app is really what's going to be driving this speaker forward. You are going to be able to hear the difference if you have them side by side, because some of the actual overall features of what the speaker has, very, very important, is a new tweeter driver package. And I'm going to go off the spec sheets and talk a bit about that right here. So we're going to open this up and look at the overall list of what the speaker offers and go from there. But I'm going to read some of the points here, and I tell you, I had to Google some of these words. Now, so just to go over the back of the speaker first, which we have here. And before we do that, we're going to talk about the tweeter and the woofer that's in the front. So very importantly, on their sheet, I got to read this because it's called Peak Performance. Now, this has nothing to do with how loud it is. This is an actual technology. It's a type of material, polymer to be exact, and it's being used on the tweeter. And Peak, it's all capital letters, and I Googled it and watched a couple of videos on it. It's P-E-E-K. So if you want to, I'll put a note in the bottom of it, but P-E-E-K. Now, what that actually stands for is polyether, So polyether ether ketone. And I didn't repeat that. It is twice. There's two E's. It's called polyether ether ketone. Now, all that fancy word talk, what does it mean? It's a special kind of plastic. Well, that's all it is, right? These are all plastics. That's what they come down to. But this is a material that they're using to manufacture and make the tweeter that they have on it, the actual high-frequency driver. Now, what's going on here is that it can handle better temperatures. It is more flexible while staying rigid. It's one of these materials. If you've ever seen that gooey compound that if you stick your finger into, you can just push it through. But if you push on it hard, it's solid. It gives that rigidity, but it's still, very, very lightweight, and it runs really well. So that pushy material, that substance that's, rigid when you push hard on it, but it's soft and flexible at the same time, amazing compound. This is kind of what is going on here. Now, this is a PET, or like they say, they like to call it, PEK, sorry. Normally, this is a product, the material that is in satellites, in rockets, and in medical equipment. So to take all of that and say, hey, we're going to use that kind of material in our products, that just shows you that they're refining themselves. They're getting themselves better. And it's not like they were in a bad place before. I think their products were pretty awesome before, and especially at the price points they were. If you were looking to launch yourself in any entertainment field, a good launching point. Two, and let me read it again just to make sure. So the driver, the base module. So they're still running the XR low frequency driver package, which is what they had before, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Now, more importantly is the box. Now, the box has been quite redesigned on the whole thing. It is set up. Let me just bear with me a second here as I bring that up for us too. Yep, the box has become really nice. So what they're doing is it's a gas molded. I'll read it again and I'll explain it to you. So, it's always good to get it right. Gas assist cabinet molding process. Now, gas assist molding, cabinet molding process. I looked that up as well just to make sure, and I've seen it before, but I didn't realize what it was called. So in the last few years, there's been a new molding process for when they make the actual cabinets, in this case, the speaker cabinets, and it allows them to have a much more consistent wall, but it allows them to build things up bigger and better. So they can get better acoustics out of the box because they can put reinforcements where they need to put the reinforcements, and they can actually make the wall consistent, and they can finish the texture off much better. When they're looking for not having a painted surface, because that's, everybody doesn't want to paint the speaker box, is it gives it a proper finish. But more importantly, though, it allows the box to be properly engineered. So this way it's going to sound truer, and most of the sound is going to go forward. So we're not going to end up with this cob effect, which is where sound radiates out of the box as much, because they can properly design it. So what the designer and engineers wanted to have is exactly what you end up with in a box. There's no compromise because we can't do that. It's not in the molding system. We can't make that possible. Now, with the gas assisted, they can, which is very impressive. Again, it's something that you have to pay more for when getting your boxes made, but it means you're going to end up with a better product when you're done. So I like that a lot. Those are little things. It's the little things, because we're getting to be that way with the product. So what else are we going to talk about? Because this is very important, because I'm saving like the best chunk for last. I mean, everybody knows, price points are roughly about the same. So we're going to take a look at that on Guitar Center, because you can look at it. And the launch, though, is basically at the end of the month. It's last Thursday of the month. I think it's the 28th is what we have, right? So, yep. Launching September 28th. Now, maybe coming early. You could pre-order it if you want. You could go down to the stores. Those are very important things, by the way. I have the links down below. Use those to get you to the store. That's what pays for this, by the way. So we're not actually financially sponsored by anybody when it comes to making these videos. So my opinion is pretty much all. Yes, they do supply the product, but they don't financially compensate me for my opinion. So that's why this show is not sponsored. Now, what were we about to get into? Because that's just the way I am. So we're still with the speaker. Now, the two speakers compared to the old models power-wise, they both advertise as 2,000 watts peak. Now, we can go down to the spec sheet, and we're going to see that here. Outside of that, the same functionality is across the back on both of them. And that, too, is the same when we look at a lot of the features on the back. So when we look at, the voice selection, the way you set it up, which is very important because this minimizes feedback, maximizes volume if you're using the speaker straight up as a PA speaker. So you want to use it for public addressing, that sort of thing. You're using it at a school gymnasium. You're using it at a hall, a church, that sort of thing. It's a good feature to have. Then it also has the sub cutout options on it. It's got a whole bunch of great new features. Hold and save. Why? Because it has an app built into it. And that's what I've been saving, but we're going to get into that. What does this app do? Well, this app is going to give us a lot. This app is going to basically do everything that we saw in the 4000 series, except we're going to do it for a lot less money. We're going to do it at a better price point. So this way you're going to be able to have all those great new opportunities. Now, also at the same time, Bluetooth is still there, right? Except we don't even, if all I'm going to do is somebody needs me to set up a speaker system for a backyard party, and all they want is, Robin, supply a playlist. We want to have, 200 songs or whatever not on random play. We want dance music. We want this. We want that. We just want to have it as background setup. You don't even have to run cables. You can use the Bluetooth function to connect the two speakers wirelessly to each other and then to your phone. And that's very important. Now, at the same time, I'm not going to plug microphones in because I can only plug a mic into one speaker anyways. And you can't have that wireless transmission. It'll be delayed and all that kind of stuff. It's not something for DJs, but it's definitely if you just want to conveniently have two speakers hooked up, use one phone or tablet off to the side, make that happen. Now, how would you use wireless Bluetooth between speakers and your phone if you're, having a gig at a bar? Well, it's pretty smart and pretty simple. Your mixer's running everything, but you're going to want to play some music when you're not playing yourself. You just want to have some music playing in the background, so you go to the bar and have yourself a drink. Well, use Bluetooth and use the wireless connectivity. That's fine, because of course a lot of mixers still don't have Bluetooth in them, right? So you're not going to be able to Bluetooth to the mixer, which is hooked up to your speakers. So in this case, you can still Bluetooth to your phone from the first speaker and use the wireless Bluetooth function to go skip the mixing board and go straight to the other speaker and wirelessly connect. So there's lots of good options, lots of good reasons to have that. Now, for the app's even better, by the way. The app's better than it was because besides doing everything it did before for an Apple product, which is why, thank gosh, I have myself my tablet that I use for Amazon, because outside of that, every other device in my house is Android. But now, yes, by the end of October, if it's not out in time right now, maybe in time a little afterwards, besides having the Apple option, you will have the Android option. You just go to the actual Android store and just go to the actual app store and we're going to check. We're going to find out what the name is because I have it on my tablet, but I'm not going to go get that right now. Let's take a look, see here if we can't find it, because they do tell you how to download it. And I read it in the instructions because it's always in the instructions. Bluetooth. There we go, right down here. So there's the app, and you can, on your device, it's the iOS driver device, yada, 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 yada. Reflashing. Oh, this is all for just Bluetooth setup. Pairing devices. Okay. Well, we're going to find the app. I'll probably end up having to get the tablet, but it's definitely in there, and they do tell you exactly where to go to get that. Now, once you actually get the app, it just connects up separately. There's two actual Bluetooth channels going into the speaker. There's going to be a Bluetooth for your music, and there's going to be data for the app to drive on the side. And that's very important. So they're not going to intermix with each other. And that's something we did see before. And again, it's still on the 4000, but it's at a new price point now. You're going to get it in the 3400 series, which is great. Now, 3400 series is going to be two models in the 3400 series. It's going to be the 12 and it's going to be the 15. So that's going to be the big difference there. You're not going to see the 10 and the 8. That's coming down the road in another series. That is going to be in this series here, which is going to be replacing the 2000, the live 2000 series. And that is going to be called the, what do we got? We got the V3408 and the V2410. So they're really drawing a line in the sand, setting it up so this way you know the true differences between them. So what we're going to do is go down the actual manual a bit here and get ourselves to that point. And yep, so here we are. What are we looking for? We are looking for the specs, not on the subwoofer, but on the actual speaker driver. So no, we're still looking at more of the back of the speakers, more of the functions and features. And again, I did go through this and I didn't find a lot of differences when it came to the overall input options, the overall features. It basically has more resemblance to the V4000 when it comes to overall, with the power of what you had before in the 2300 series. So that's the big difference. Now, one thing is they're really showing you how they make the sausage on this one. I mean, they give you a lot of information. So when we're looking at this, I'm really seeing some details that you didn't see before. Now, this is the one that this always scares me as somebody who used to do retail and talks a lot about stuff on the internet. I call it, this is me in the actual showroom. People, well, what kind of wattage does it have? Well, it has 2000 watts. That's internet watts, though. That's how I would always, the peak power was internet watts. There's so many companies that just this arbitrary number they have on a box. And now there's a mathematical equation that allows all of this. It's double and 4 times, and that gets you into your peak rating and stuff like that. Most companies never tell you what their actual RMS is on a reasonably priced speaker. And I mean reasonably priced, by the way, I mean under $1,000. Excuse me. So I've seen this for years. And I'm not picking on brands by saying this. But if you go look at the spec sheet for Electro Voice, and what you look for the wattage on their particular models. So go up the ladder. They have 3 series. Look at the wattage they advertise. Look at the dBs the actual speaker puts out. Compare that to the 3 models. What you'll notice is that the wattage is the same twice, but the dBs go up. One's 6 dBs louder than the other. Go over to JBL's website. Do the exact same comparison. Look at their 3 series speakers. You're going to find that the wattage is similar in some of their speakers, but the dB goes up by 6. That's because they have internet wattage that they push forward, and they don't really get into the background of what's going on. Now, if it's your second or third or fourth pair of speakers you're buying, and yes, a lot of people buy lots of speakers out there, you're going to realize, and you're not too upfront about caring about the wattage, because you know that the peak power is just this measurement that they can get for a blink of a moment, and most manufacturers don't really tell you what the amps run off of. And if you think there's some mathematical equation that you can look at the voltage coming into a speaker and the amperage and somehow come up with a mathematical equation that applies to the speaker output, well, it doesn't work that way. And also at the same time, because I mean, you'd be ridiculous loud. So what's happening is that yes, there's chips, there's caps, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on, and it's all D-class power amp. And at the end of the day, you're going to get a loudspeaker at the other end. Now, that being said, I'm going to give you the number here, and then I'm going to tell you another story about when I actually bought speakers from overseas and got instructions from the manufacturer. So I'll give you that. But so right here, this is the important part. Now, the 3412 and the 3415 are both rated. Power output is 2,000 watts peak. It's running on 400 watts. They even divide it up for you. So they tell you that the amp that's running the woofer is 315. The amp that's running the tweeter is 50, which I thought was kind of odd, because I really thought there'd be more into the tweeter. But same thing across the board. The only difference is in dBs, because it's exactly the same amp going in. So the only thing that's different is that one driver between the 2 speakers and the overall cabinet. And if we look at the dBs, there's literally only one. I mean, the margin of error probably accumulates for the difference between these 2. So then you get back to, well, why buy a 15 if I get the same out of a 12? When you're actually standing in front of them and you're within, let's say, 12 feet or 20 feet or less from the 12, we'll say 20 to 12 feet from the 12, it feels tighter. It feels fuller. I'm not going to say it feels louder, but it's smoother. Anyways, so then you take the 15, and in that same distance, it doesn't seem to carry as low. And again, driver is definitely going to be the size there. But the difference is when you get further back, when you're 24 or 30 feet away, the sound projects better on a larger surface. So the 15 carries better with the impression, how much you feel at the distance, especially when you put it up. Because dB is measured the same, and the degradation of dB over time is the same. The only difference we can change is the overall volume, size, of how the sound is going to be projected across the room, because it's all sine waves, right? So that's really what's going on. So if you're looking for smaller events, for stage events, you're looking for stage monitors, you're looking for spoken word, you want tighter speakers, then the 12s are really good. If your intention is to play it up a little bit louder and you want to drive it for larger audiences, not more than you can see, of course, then you get into the 15. So, of course, there's still always going to be a reason to have that 15. It's the same reason after that you end up with, getting into big line arrays. Eventually you just need bigger speakers. Now, here's the other story that I was going to tell you about, the actual, the power, the 200 watts. Now, this is the same manufacturer I went to for samples, because years ago I thought, oh, I'm going to, bring in my own product, because there wasn't a lot of choices in Canada at the time. So I went to the manufacturer who builds some of the other brands. They pick up the slack for a lot of companies out there, and they build products for a lot of the consumer brands. Okay. And I asked them for a speaker. I had picked one out. I thought I really liked this. It looked like something I had seen before, and that's what I was looking for. And I got that sample made. Very expensive, but I got the sample. And then I got emails and back and forth communications, instructions. They told me what the power was, and total power output was going to be something like 240 watts. It was going to be 100 and something with, it was 180 with 60 on top, sort of thing. And then they asked me, how much do you want us to put on the manual? How much do you want us to put on the box? Yeah, that was it there. And I knew that because I'd seen what other companies, the brands they built for, because I went with a fairly expensive amp configuration to really put a lot of power in. And then I realized that the configs the other companies were using was more like, 36 with an 8 and, 50 with a 20, that sort of thing. And it's like their numbers were ridiculous. 600, 800, 900 watts on their boxes. They were saying it was 450 RMS. It was crazy. And then I realized that these manufacturers will put anything on it because there's no reality in checking these things out. So this is why I get back to Harbinger is really showing you how they make the sausage, because they're actually showing you the 300 by 50, and they're doing that on their best price speaker. So they want you to feel completely comfortable with the fact that they're being completely honest about it. It doesn't take away from the fact that the 2312 that we have and the 2315 is stupid loud and has solid bass, and the clarity just comes out really smooth off of it. Doesn't take away from all that. It's the same amp. So we're going to see that in here. And I know that once we have it, it's definitely going to be something that's going to be really, really nice to listen to. Again, they go into a lot of detail because they know that they're being bought by a lot of musicians and a lot of people who take care in reading information, reading the specs, reading the details, trying it out. And especially, this is big, sometimes you know too much. And when you're the retailer of a large chain, the longer you do something for, the more you start realizing what everybody starts talking about. And that just becomes so overwhelming. And I'm sure they hear it in the stores. They hear it amongst the customers, the employees, the sales team, everybody. It's all about the specs, the details. Everybody picks on everything from all the companies. I mean, you get to a point where it's just crazy. So what they do is they put all that information in here. So this way there's no gray area. You can feel comfortable when you read this actual screen that you're getting numbers and information and details that they put a lot of work and effort into. So I really give them kudos for doing all this. Because again, this is more information than I've seen on a lot of brands for 3 times the price. So that's really, really nice. I like that. And this is just a manual we're talking about here. I mean, that's pretty impressive. So now the subwoofer. Now there you go. The subwoofer's got quite a lot of toys in it now. So it's now, they're calling it the VS18. So they're not calling it the 3418. They're not doing that. I've noticed that with a couple of other companies now because their lines are growing and they don't change subwoofers necessarily as often as the tops, especially now because some companies, again, Harbinger's like that. If you look at Mackie did it like 3 times. In 4 years, 5 years, they did that. They changed their product. And if you look at Alto, same thing. They've gone through 3 versions of the product. Almost, between 16 to 24 months, they've come out with a new product. I mean, if it wasn't for COVID, that actually put a dent in their launching of, I think, their other product, they would have had their TS4 series out much sooner because there was rumors about it before that. So if you're changing your tops that often, do you need to change the subwoofer? No. The subwoofer, you're tweaking it. The subwoofers are pretty topped out for what you can do at the price range. So these are all subs that are under $1,000. So you're getting a lot of power out of a subwoofer, and you're getting a lot of features. So they are doing little minor changes on it. Now, if you look at it, I'm going to take a closer look at it again here for the back, because I do have the 23. What am I seeing? Well, the level of, minus 10 plus 4 is actually indicated on the manual, but it is on the model that I have here. And you've got the time alignment, you've got delay, you get the reverse. You get a little bit more out of the crossover. You get basically you're going to be able to adjust it. So they're going all the way down. You can cut it all the way down from 70 all the way up to 115. Then you can go full. Basically, you're turning off the crossover option on it. So, and they're also giving you, I like this. I just saw it now. So right here, they're telling you that, between the 70 and 100, that's recommended for 12s to 15s, which is nice because it's a good educational practice, right? I mean, everybody always asks, where should I do it? Where, what's a good point? You basically want to have a little bit of overlap, but that's pretty much it. And see here, look at the crossover points. They're going up much higher. This is going to allow me to get much better response out of my 8s and 10s. So they're all the way up. So anywhere from 115 to 150, those are for the 8s and 10s, and that makes great sense too, right? Because if you're looking at it, if I can take more out of the bottom, that's where my risk factors are. Outside of hitting the limits for my uppers, for my tweeters, my high frequency, that's going to work out pretty good. It even has a USB port on it now. Now, I'm curious if the app runs on the actual subwoofer. Well, we're going to have to go take a look at the actual website for that. So in the manual, we get through a whole bunch of, instructions, how-tos, which is nice, but that pretty much covers that. And let's see, frequency, crossover, output, switching, volume knob. All right, charging jack. People like plugging in dongles in the back of these speakers, so it's nice to have a charging jack. Crossovers, there you go, ladies. Yep, power cord. Okay, so I don't see anything else outside, but they're just talking about the mechanics of the backside. Well, I love the hookups because the fact that they have the feature with the smart stereo connection, right? So you can connect two speakers, plug into a first speaker, link off of that. It allows for a lot of great cable management. You get a lot of options when it comes to hooking up the subwoofer. Now, remember, you can buy their subwoofer and use it with any speaker you have. You're not locked into this. A subwoofer is like owning a pickup truck and buying yourself a trailer. That's really what a subwoofer is. It's just going to be a way to put a lot more bass into the volume of space that you're in. So, I mean, you can mix and match all you want. So what are we looking at here? Okay, so yeah, so they show you a smart stereo connection at the end. They show you, because you can either run through from the top down or from the bottom up, and that's pretty much what they're showing you in these two configurations here. It's just kind of important depending on how you like to hook up your equipment and how you want to control the sound. Now, the option they don't show you here is that when people use a bus channel off of their actual mixer or an actual dedicated sub channel, because some mixers now have an actual sub out, and we're not talking about a sub bus channel, we're talking about a sub out. You can also use, I like this for people who, if you're using it for weddings, this option is really good. If you're not using a stage monitor for yourself, you put your subwoofers through the stage monitor, and there's the key advantages. This way, it stops you from having any subs, any of that sub bass on the microphone. Because remember, at weddings, you're going to be passing out microphones for people to use all around to talk, and if they talk incorrectly in the microphone, they can really pounce the bottom end, just everything sounds ruffled and just, you know what I'm talking about, right? It just sounds bad. So if you can actually have the subwoofer on an aux, you don't have to turn that aux on the actual microphone. You'll only turn the subwoofer on the auxiliary channels that you have the music coming through. Very cool way to have it all set up, and it works out really well. And so, yeah, so here we go. Let's go over to the product page here and see what we can see on Guitar Center. Now, this also reminds me to tell you at this point in time, our affiliate link is down below. So whenever you plan on going to Guitar Center to buy something online, This doesn't work in store, by the way. But it doesn't hurt to tell them that Robin sent you. Yes, Robin from Expert On told me to come down to the store, listen to the speakers, get my own opinions. So this way, I would be happy with them. If you told them that, that would be appreciated, because it would, be nice if they know that, or send their customer service online that, so they know that, customers are coming. And also use the link, because that's actually how I get compensated, because I'm an affiliate with Guitar Center. So that means whenever you buy things through the link, I get paid a commission, which is how it should be, right? So that's what's going on there. Now, here we are. Side note over, back to Guitar Center's website. We're on the page. So when I was talking to them about the speakers, it seemed like it was like, this was all the information they had, and it was going to get released on their website. I think I had gotten mixed up with product availability versus what they actually put on there. So this is the big talk, the big first talk. Now, you can order it. You can add to your cart. You can order these speakers. You're going to have to check, they're available. They're in stock. Depends on where you are. So that's good. If you're planning on going down to the store, though, I would call your local store first. I even included Guitar Center's phone number down below, so this way you can call them up and say, hey, I was just watching Robin on YouTube, and I wanted to call and find out if you had the new 3400s in stock or not, because that's always nice to know. You can also check online. I think you can check your availability of your local store, which I have set up as Buffalo, by the way. So it does say I can order them online, so that's cool. And you're looking at $450 for the 15. Now, if you're curious, you're going, I really like the idea of that. I get the new one. The old ones are on sale, by the way, so you can get a really good deal on them. And we're going to be talking about, the 2315s for a while, because same power, same overall feature. And of course, nothing ever goes away in, pro audio. We're talking, this is going to be back. It's going to be available on rentals. It's going to be available as sales. If you own a pair of 23s and you want to upgrade because you want the app, you're going to be trading in your speakers. That means somebody else can come in, buy a pair of the 23s and save a lot of money. You enjoyed them for a year. You used them for a whole bunch of shows, but now you want something new. That means the 23s will still be there, and they'll be at a good price. And by the way, from what I've noticed, they are on sale, and they all do have clearance prices on them. If you're lucky, you might even get a subwoofer at a really good price. So the 3415, $450. And this is important because now if we go and we look at the 34, let's see, the V3412. Now you can also buy these speakers in different package configurations. So $399, so $50 difference, which is in a normal world, a normal price difference. I've seen these price differences get pretty steep, but honestly, they're being very fair with only that amount of difference. It's all about volume, by the way. It gets harder as the speakers get smaller to justify it. So, but definitely here, $50 difference. Buy what's best for you. Then you can buy it as a set, no value, but you get in the stands. Oh, look at that. See, you miss these things, eh? Because, of course, you don't think about it. You're going to probably buy two. And if you're going to buy two, look at that. You get some stands thrown in on this one here for $8.99. That's a great deal. I like that. Stands are, 100 plus, right? For two of them, plus the bag. So that's a neat little package right there. Then over here, again, now we're at $1,200. You're going to get cables, the two speakers. So again, $800 here. We'd have to check out the mixer, but we're probably looking at a couple. So again, what we're getting here is we're paying for the speaker and the mixer, and we're going to get the stands and the cables basically for free. Again, you need the cables. It has to happen. So you're going to get the cables included for free. Then we get over here, and now here we are. Instead of a mixer, we've got ourselves $18.99. We're going to have ourselves the subwoofer, two speakers, two stands, four cables. That's the magic right there. Awesome. Now, why, by the way? Because, you know what? If you hook this up and use their actual stereo connection, their smart stereo, we need one cable to run between the two speakers, and we need one cable to run down to the sub. Oh, and they give you two cables to run off of whatever you have. So there you go. You can hook it up to your controller or mixer with the four cables. Neato. So there you go. So $50 less for the 12-inch versus the 15. Now, let's look at what's on sale. Let's look at the V3312, because I saw that and it was, look at this. Look at that right there. $249. Now, if you need a set of speakers now, and you don't want to wait, and you're not a big fan of apps because you just, you're in charge. You're the type of person who just wants to run the whole thing. Well, there you go. You can get yourself 2312s for only $249. That's $100 off. That's 29% reduction in price there. That is a true bargain, because that speaker, right off the hop, talking about prices, I always believe that Harbinger's probably about 10-15% lower than competing products that I've seen. It's really impressive. They don't take advantage with their margin because they are in a unique position to be the engineering, designing, manufacturing, and then the retailer. So there's no distribution in the middle. There's no two markup system, because normally the manufacturer, and again, we're not picking on brands. We're just, something we feel familiar with, JBL here, right? So JBL Professional, they design, they engineer, they come up with a product. They build it. Here it is. Then they sell it to somebody over here. So what happens is they need to make some money on this side. And then they need to make some money on this side. Now, normally, this side here, I'm going to give away the sausage. It should be, for a product of this nature, 21 to 25 points. Now, it could be different. These guys need to make money too. So normally they need to take the product at whatever the manufacturing cost is, the final destination. Here it is. It's in California. That's what it costs. It's landed. That's our price. We're going to mark it up X amount. We're going to sell it to the retailer over here in California, and then they are going to have their standard markups, which they predetermined anyways. So 2 markups. I find that if you look at the price points and the features and the sound quality of Harbinger over here, and then you see the prices that they sell them for, they don't double mark up their products. I do not feel like they're double dipping in the pool. The money, they're taking it from this side and they're adding, let's say they're 25, and they're coming up with the retail, which gives it great value opportunity for me and you when we go and buy it. That's the big deal, is that you already see a speaker. Let's say this one here, for example, the 2312. You're looking at a speaker that anybody else competitively would probably be $400. They're $50 cheaper. So they already have the advantage of having that product at a better price point. Then you take the extra advantage of the fact that they're a company who doesn't slow down. I remember working for Sony, and up here we had what was called the Sony store. And the Sony store was, well, basically like an Apple store. And when they changed over TV models or their home theater receivers or their whatever it was, we'd be like bone dry. Like, dude, we got nothing to sell. There's no TVs in the stock room. There's not even a display on the floor because we're 3 months till we get the new product. They would literally do that. Just dry out the entire market and then launch a new product. We don't live in that world anymore. Now you live in a world where Harbinger basically launches their new product while they still have tons of great stock in their stores. Now they are low because they didn't, they didn't like order replenishment surplus for all of that, but they still had plenty of stock. They didn't hold back on their last order. They said, hey, let's just keep going. And they did. And now they got new product coming and they're putting their models that are going out on sale. So you get a choice. I can either pre-order the new stuff because I now know about it, or I can save a ton of money on the old stuff. So I'm going to look here because I've got questions and I can't see them. So what do we got? We got okay. I may end up having to answer these questions after the fact. I'm going to answer them, but I may not be able to answer them now. So I got a question about availability. Are they, do they look available to buy? Absolutely. I look at the website and I'm going, if I see it in stock. So again, let's go back to, the models that we're talking about here. 34, no, let's get that right. 3400, or, I don't know if that's going to help us. So that's probably not going to bring up anything. No, it won't. It brings us something belonging to other people. There we go. There it is. So if we look at the 12, now the 12, we do know that's available. We saw that. Add to cart. And I'm looking in the States here. So remember, I'm looking straight there. So it all depends on where you look at for your actual products. But remember, call your store if you want to go down to your store, see if they actually physically have one there for you, right? That's big deal. And what else are we looking at here? So the subwoofer. Is a subwoofer in stock, And again, yeah, like we were talking about, the subwoofer, the model numbers, they're not keeping them tied in anymore. So I've seen that the companies are dropping the series matching numbers because it just doesn't make much sense there. So what do we got? The VS18, VS18. VS18. By the way, I really like the texture. I do really like the look of the cover and the grill. It's a smart engineering idea, but it just looks really sexy. Like, come on. It's got that nice look to it. Now, again, we can add it to the cart. So if I add it to the cart, what happens, right? Yeah, because you know what? I looked at it this afternoon and I could have swore. Oh, no, I think it said it wasn't available for me in Canada. Like they wouldn't ship it up to Canada. So what do we buy value 60 days pro coverage? Ooh, look at this. We've got all kinds of payment options. Accidental drop spillage. I do like this, by the way. I mean, if you're driving around doing DJ gigs in a Honda Civic, get this. This is good coverage, I mean, that's what it's all about. I know I'm joking about the Honda Civic thing, but I'm not. I kid you not, I've actually put speakers into people's cars. And for some crazy reason, the last customer every week on Saturday, because we were closed on Sunday, was always a guy who would want to buy an 18-inch subwoofer and put it in the back seat of his Honda Civic. And you know what? Honda Civics aren't like they used to be. I mean, there's no such thing as a proper hatchback. Well, there is, but they never seem to show up. If you're trying to get your subwoofer into a small car, this is the trick. You take it out of the box. You might be able to leave it in the box. You take it out of the box. You have to put it on the passenger seat. So you slide the passenger seat, roll it all the way back. So basically sandwich it open like you're going to lay down on the passenger seat, front to back. Okay, so slide it forward, lay it down, put the subwoofer on the seat now. Now that you have it completely laid down, you can push the box up to the back of the seat, and now you're in the back of the actual back of the car. You can now push it behind the driver's seat. Then you can put the seat back up, slide in position, and you're cool. That's how you get an 18-inch subwoofer into a Honda Civic. And it works in 4-door cars too, by the way. So that's always the funny part is, yes, that's my Saturday. Store closed at 6 o'clock. At 5:45, some dude would always come in and buy an 18-inch subwoofer and then go outside, and it's always a car because he's got a party that weekend and he needs that for whatever he's doing that night or on Sunday. Why do they show up in a car? I don't know. And I know everybody does it. It's crazy. Here's the sub. Back to the sub. So, yeah. What didn't appear to be in stock this afternoon, and again, I could have been because I was, putting in Canada. It was basically, okay. So, putting in my Canadian. So, you know what? The only postal code every Canadian knows by heart. 90210. Is that it? No. 9010. No, 90. What? I can't. Somebody give me their postal code. What was it? Beverly Hills? What was it? 90210. Is it not that? 90210? 90210. No, okay, I don't have it right. I don't see anybody helping me out here with postal codes. Come on. Somebody give me their postal code. 902, 902. Anyways. Maybe if I put a postal code in. If somebody throws me a postal code and I see it on the screen here, I will put that in there. No. So, let's see. It wasn't available in Canada, but that's okay. And, yeah, there's restrictions. Shopping restrictions apply. In stock. This oversized item has special shipping inquiry. Okay, there's lots of normal stuff going on, so it is what it is. Yeah, so I see there's a bit of a conversation on, the noise levels and stuff like that. Now, let me explain what I got going on behind me here, because, people look at this all the time, and let me swap this over so you see the behind. So I'm going to flop this over. I don't use the main speakers all that much outside of the line arrays. The other speakers, when I had the actual showroom, not the studio here, but when I had the showroom, I'd have big speakers on all the time. Because in a large space, you don't know there's a hiss, because there's enough background noise, the normal natural sound of a HVAC running in the sky and all that stuff that would normally happen wherever you're at, be it, a hotel, a hall, a church, doesn't matter where you are. You're going to have this natural ambient noise of around 65, 70 dBs. So your speaker's hissing down at around, 40 dBs, you'll never even hear it. Now here, if I draw my ear to it to a detention, it would be there. And that's because of the way the tweeter's set up. Now, on the actual line arrays, no tweeter, just neodymium drivers on top. So you don't hear that hissing frequency coming through as piercing as you normally do on the actual big PA speakers. So, do they hiss? No more, no less than what I've heard come out of a JBL or Electro Voice or QSC or, Mackie. Some of them actually hiss more, I think. And if you're wondering why they hiss, is because it's like having a car that you're driving by shifting gears. The gas pedal's always to the floor. You're just using your gears to go faster. So it's like the speaker, when it's on, the amp portion of it, the piece that's actually ready to make that speaker go, it's on the floor. It's always ready to go 100% because it never knows what's going to come through the preamp. So it's always throttled up. And then what you're doing is you're increasing the preamp, basically opening the door. The pressure is always on the speaker, ready to go. That's what you're hearing, is that hiss, is that amplifier in the background, throttled up. So that's why that hisses and not your home stereo or your car stereo, because your car stereo doesn't run that way. It doesn't have the amp on 100%. The amp gets turned up proportion to a fixed preamp. So the preamp is fixed. It's at its set limit, and you turn the amplifier up. Where on an actual PA system, the amplifier is already turned up and you're bringing up the preamp. So that's the difference. That's why it hisses. And sorry, off beaten path, but there you go. That's why I have line arrays here set up all the time. And that's how PA speakers versus home theater speakers work in a basic world. So there we are. Now, I think if you want to buy the speakers, buy the speakers. They're out there available for you to buy right now. You go for it. I think their whole launch date of 28th is when they're probably going to spend ad revenue money. So that's when you watch a video of mine and then, Google slaps in a Guitar Center. If you're looking for a new set of speakers, you might want to buy yourself a pair of Harbingers. That's going to probably start happening on the 28th. I see it all the time. I see it from Mackie. I see it from JBL. These companies who go and actively spend money on, I can see it on my analytics, right? And it's like my Mackie videos all of a sudden have these big spikes in revenue spend because the companies spend money against videos, right? Because it's like if you're interested in watching a video on a product, you might be interested in buying that product. All right. Anyways, I want to say thank you very much. I'm going to see if I can... Sound dropped out. Oh no, the sound dropped out. Did the sound drop back in again? Let me take a look-see here. Make sure I can hear myself talk. And by the way, I am sitting here listening to myself talk, and I'm way off here, about 20 seconds off. So this is very annoying. Oh my gosh. Okay. So yeah, it's amazing when I actually do videos instead of live, which is what I normally do. The big difference is that I can take the take over and over and over again. And you're always worried, ooh, I do live. What is this going to be like? And you know what? It's just funny. It's just funny. And there you go. Somebody, hey, I'm back. There you go. So, and I think you guys do that just so I have to put a set of headphones on and hear my voice delayed. Because again, you know what I'm talking about. You can't actually do anything if you hear your own voice delayed. It's like in your head. So there we go. Was there anything else questions-wise? You can ask me pretty much anything, and if I'm stupid enough to answer it, I will. Sound dropped out. No sound. Oh, you're back. Okay. Purchase Alto speakers because of you. Well, thank you very much. And I'm sure Alto thanks you very much. But I thank you for actually putting that there because... And see, I can say this because you know what? Harbinger's not actually physically paying me to do this video. I'm working with Alto to get their speakers. Because you know what? I'm in no rabbit hole with one brand or another. I think there's a ton of great brands out there. And fan favorite, Alto's I've always been a fan favorite of Alto. I think for a lot of people, Alto has been one of these great brands that have basically moved forward so quickly. And when they've made mistakes, they basically rearrange and fix these things up real fast. So if you buy an Alto and you treat it with respect, it's always hard. And I know I don't say it to be demeaning because you know what, man, it's so easy to damage stuff. This equipment is for something that's so big and so powerful, but can be so fragile at the same time. We don't even see it. I can give you some crazy stories about how people have made tiny little mistakes and have caused them so much grief. I had a guy who accidentally lent us, and I'm being polite by saying he lent it to somebody else in the family, because I think that might not have been the actual case. I think he might have done it himself. Bought a brand new set of speakers on a Thursday. Then on Monday, he calls me and tells me they both don't work. He goes, don't know, they made a big noise. They pop sound or something like that. They don't work. He goes, they didn't even work for a second. They just made this loud popping sound and that was it. So I said, bring in the speakers. So he brought in the speakers. And I said, well, these things don't normally have. I thought he blew the fuse or something like that. So I go through and I check everything out. I can't find it. All right. Leave them with me. I'll see what I can do for you. Because I'm going, they were fine when they left. Why are they don't working now? And there's not one, it's two, right? And a pair, a set. So I took the amp plate off of one of them, broke out the magnifying glass, looking for the problem. So I'm scanning through the actual amp plate on the back, because you could smell it. There was something wrong. The preamps weren't just cooked. The whole little circuit board where the preamps were was basically black charred, like the whole thing just cooked. And then I found out that what had happened was, I told him, I said, well, what kind of mixer are you using? He couldn't give me. I said, bring it in with you. Bring it to me so I can see what you're plugging in. Brought it in. I said, how are you plugging this in? He goes, oh, with these 1/4-inch cables, I was plugging it in because you can plug 1/4-inch in the back. He was plugging in a powered amplifier, like one of those pre-rack mixing amps, directly into the speakers. So he's sending in full line level power into the preamps, into the back of the two speakers. And he blew up the preamps on the speakers. But then he figured he was doing something wrong. So he went from channel 1, plugged it into channel 2, and did the same thing over again a second time and blew his second line. Absolutely crazy. And I'm going to say that the story actually comes out pretty nice, because the company basically I did all the labor, by the way. So they didn't pay for labor, but they did supply replacement parts and the customer got taken care of. But it's like the stories that are out there is crazy. Anyways, but like I said, opportunity to have something that's really good, and Alto does a really great product line. And again, I think Harbinger mixes in with that. The differences are mild and different. Coke and Pepsi. And I think if you buy Harbinger, which actually is nice because they actually offer a little bit more selection to their products, so you can really zero into what you want. But Alto, I mean, you go in, Alto has this studio monitor feel to it. Like the sound quality. The reason why Electro Voice ZLX is so stupidly popular in the world is because of that perfect monitor effect that you get off of their speaker. Basically, the ZLX sounds like all the other Electro Voices. So you can plan it on the stage, have a speaker next to you for the audience that's cost 4 times the price, and it's going to acoustically have the same sound as the ZLX. That's great. But the ZLX on its own has this pure sound that musicians love. Doesn't matter if you play a guitar or a keyboard. It just has a great sound that nobody's upset about. You might like something else better, but you're never really upset with the Electro Voice ZLX. The same thing happens with the Alto. If you're not using the contour button on the back and you set it up on the floor as a stage monitor, or for yourself for rehearsal purposes, there's no reason why you don't love that speaker. It's got a richness and a purity in sound that's, parallel, in my opinion, to what you would see in the ZLX, without all the extra features and bells and whistles. But of course, that's changed because there's a lot more features on that speaker now. That being said, you're starting to see that now with Harbinger as well. And when I said these companies are changing their models over a lot faster and they're offering you a lot more options, that's what I'm talking about. These are companies that are very active in what they do. and that's a very good thing. Also, if you're watching this in the States, I think, am I right in saying that Guitar Center is pretty much where you would get an Alto TS 412 and 415. So that's big. I know that you can go to Amazon, let's say, and get a TS 410 or 408, but the 415s and the 412s are pretty much always with them. That's for sure. So there we go. Well, this has only been the pre. I mean, we haven't even reviewed a product physically in our hands here yet. So this is it. This is what we're talking about. So I think you can go out and buy it today. I think, you know what? Try and buy it. If not, go down and talk to this guy here. If you need any help, there he is. You can give him a call. He's available at 855-697-0864, or you can click here and chat now and find out what's going on. By the way, this guy's name's Don, I guess. That's what it says. So, by all means, give them a call. See if that's what you want. Go down to a store. You got a couple of weeks. Call them up. Bug them. There's nothing better than hanging out at a Guitar Center just for, just to poke around. Because occasionally you're going to buy a cable. You're going to buy something, right? So, I mean, you go down there. Plus, if you have some old equipment, you can talk to them about trading in your old equipment, getting some cash value out of that so you can buy into some new equipment. People don't think of that a lot, but a lot of times you have stuff sitting around. That's not a bad way to go. All right, there you go. Well, I want to say thank you all very much for coming out and watching the show today. And by the way, leave it down in the comments if you want to do something where we basically, let's say, talk about the sales for the week. Because there's always I get the emails. I don't know if you subscribe to Guitar Centers and get their emails. I mean, again, I don't get to shop there. I can buy, by the way. They will send it to me in Canada. They'll send it to anybody in Canada. They're a good company like that. They'll send all their products up to Canada as long as there's no exclusions. But they're always running some great sales. And sometimes they're better sales than others. So, I mean, if you want to talk about sales and products they have and stuff that's like, open box or special deals once a week or something like that for an hour, leave it down in the comments here and I'll check it out later on. But yeah, because I do that all by myself, right? I'll go through here and I'll look at the deals. I'll look at the sales. I'll see what's going on. There's always something. There's always something to be had. So there you go. Well, again, what time is it now? It's 10:11. I talked for 11 minutes longer than I thought I would be because this was fun to do, because when it's working, right? We are going to talk soon. I've got a bunch of videos coming out. I've got a couple of other YouTube channels too, by the way. So they'll be tagged at the bottom of this, not now, but later on, but I'll put them in the next videos for you. So if you're looking to make some extra money and you're trying to figure out how I use product that I have or how I do things to make extra coin, because think about it, all my money's made making videos. So how do I do it? I talk about that on my other channels. And also, I have another channel, how-to channel, which is more like off the beaten path how-to. It's called How To Island. I've just started it. It's like how I do everything else. So if you're not just looking for the big audio stuff, but you want to learn more about how I film things, how I make the sound on my microphone work, why I use certain mixers, or how I get the video and all that kind of stuff to work when it does work, that's what I talk about on that channel. So there you go. So again, I'd like to say thank you very much. Hope to see you next time. And of course, it's my video, so bye for now. And now I got to find the end button. There it is. End. Thanks again.